What is nothing? Not the bad type of nothing, but rather the type of nothing that is more neutral in its nature. It's not the type of nothing that leaves you feeling hollow and empty, but rather a type of nothing that just is. Like a brisk breeze in the spring. It's not something that disturbs you, or even something you entirely notice until you stop and pay attention to it. It's something that just is, and with it comes a sense that something is missing. But then, that feeling is replaced by the very missing feeling in and of itself. A feeling that makes one stop and question whether something was supposed to have been there in the first place. However, a moment later, that person then remembers there was probably never anything there to begin with. And all that is left is the feeling of what is. Nothing. Which begs the question, is nothing something? And if so, how can something be nothing? They're missing. What? Scorched turned around, faster than they could actually process the unfamiliar and disjointed sound. The suddenness with which they turned, almost causing them to trip and fall over their own cloak. They gripped firmly onto their staff, hoping the flames it produced would illuminate the dimly lit halls of Lacrimorta and help them locate the source of the sound. The labyrinth was dreary and decrepit. The place smelt of mold. The walls looked so unstable that one had to fear looking at it funny could cause the place to collapse in on itself. Even the softest of steps created the loudest and sharpest of creaks. For a second, Scorched wondered if that was what they heard. But the sound... no. It sounded like a voice. A calm and peaceful voice, belonging to someone who was warm and welcoming. It was soft and inviting, like a picnic in a field covered with scorpion grasses on a warm summer day. However, something about the voice was off. Despite its gentle aura, the sound was also being drowned out in a different noise. It was a weird and fuzzy sound. One that Scorched couldn't exactly place their paw on, but the best way they could describe it is to imagine a voice that was overcome by a relentless and persistent decay, mixed in an abyss of static. They're missing, they thought. Their throat began to feel tight, and their stomach turned as they began to ponder. Was that a... They shook their head, trying not to think about it, forcing a smile onto their face, trying to regain their composure. No one else was around. But even the dust and grime must have known that was the fakest smile one could have ever mustered. Yet they pushed forward through the darkness. They had a job to complete. Nothing is the absence of something, like how darkness is the absence of light. However, even darkness is a something, and if one nothing can become a something, then it would not stand to reason that there are more nothings out there that are actually somethings. Maybe all nothings are somethings. Maybe nothing isn't even a real thing to begin with. They're missing. Scorched stopped in their tracks, pricked their ears. It was even louder this time, closer. Where did it come from? The room felt like it was spinning and twisting around them as they tried to assess their surroundings. A sharp, creaking noise approached from behind them. The room grew cold. The humidity got so bad it became hard to breathe, and the few candles that illuminated the room went out, leaving Scorched in the cold darkness of Lacrimorta. But it was behind them. A low, deep breathing down their neck, followed by gurgling sounds. This creature sounded like it was underwater, coughing and choking on the weight of their own existence, or whatever was left of it. They could feel it. The thing was falling apart and away from this world, with an awful, dreaded sense of wrongness that came from this being. This thing, whatever it was, or is, was currently behind them. And now that it was close, well, it didn't feel friendly. They clutched their staffs so hard they could feel the wood scratching into their paw. First standing on edge, they tried to steady their breathing, but all they could feel was a fear so thick it was suffocating. They could feel it reaching out to them, pulling them in. "They're missing," it whispered. They clutched the staff, then without thinking spun around, rushing forward, flames blazing from the core of their relic, and then they struck it. The thing. It was a quick, sudden. They didn't get a good look at it. They didn't want to get a good look at it. No, they just wanted to get out of there, to get out of Lacrimorta, and as far from there as they could possibly get. Someone else could go and look for the missing cats.